What's up, everybody? Chad here for yet another Taco Tuesday, and the first Taco Tuesday that I am recording in another state from where I normally do, which is North Carolina. That is the new state in which I will be recording most of my videos, as this is my new home. Anyways, so the topic at hand today is kind of inspired by Tacoma World. So, this transmission that is in this truck has been pretty controversial and in the news, so to speak, with these Tacomas. Anyways, so in reading about it, some people were talking about their towing experiences, and as you know, me and Bandit, both of us, we have towed with our Tacomas, and we have kind of shared our experiences. But one thing that I have not yet done with my truck when I towed is pinned the transmission thermostat. So a lot of people don't actually know, but there is a second thermostat that people don't actually know a whole lot about, and that is a thermostat that is on this transmission in this truck. Now, if you have a Toyota Tundra, you may be familiar with this, because if there is a tow package on your Toyota Tundra, this is nearly almost identically the same exact system, just scaled down for the size of the Tacoma. You know, 5.7 liter V8 versus 3.5 liter V6, and I believe second gen Tacomas with the 4 liter V6 also had a very similar setup. But basically, when you do have a Tacoma that is equipped with a tow package, you get a transmission cooler and a few other different coolers that are on the truck that help keep things cool, obviously, when you are towing and hauling and, you know, bringing, I guess it helps the Tacoma stay cool. That's what I'm going to leave it at. So for the transmission, you can actually pin the thermostat, which is located on the passenger side. It's kind of a module looking thing, very circular in nature, that also serves as warming up the transmission fluid. And the way that works is it routes coolant from the engine, because the engine warms up quicker than the transmission does, and it uses that to warm up the transmission fluid. So I decided that I was going to do this video on how to pin the thermostat on your transmission. The best scenarios for this are if you're going to be towing anything exceptionally heavy. You might be asking yourself, why would I do this if it's supposed to automatically open the circuit up to cool the transmission fluid even further? Well, the reason for that is because the way that Toyota supposedly has this set up in the computer is when the transmission fluid reaches a certain temperature, which I believe is far higher than it should be to start cooling it off through the transmission cooler. It's upwards of higher 200 degrees, which honestly, transmission fluid, for it to be kept within a healthy range, is more like 185 to 200. And the way that Toyota has this set up, again, supposedly, is far higher. So a lot of people in the summer months in some hot areas such as North Carolina, and if you're towing and you want to keep your transmission fluid a little bit cooler, just to be constantly circulating through not only the radiator but also through the transmission cooler up in front of your radiator and your condenser for the AC, this might be a good option for you to look into. So the reason that I'm personally doing it is I'm not going to be towing anything that I know of anytime soon, but because the summers are particularly muggy and hot down here in North Carolina, and I don't have the longest commute in the world to work, but I don't have the shortest either, and I know I'm going to be doing a decent amount of driving. It's just a hot area, and I decided, hey, what's it going to hurt? Why don't I try this out? And it definitely does do something. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get under the truck, show you the process for pinning your transmission. The thing that I did pin my transmission with in particular was something I found in my garage back home. It's a small metal pin, I would say about yay long, and I decided to put a bend in it. And the way it works is when you're underneath the truck, you get something like my Leatherman is what I use to get under there, and you push in the pin with it, and then you can slide in whatever happens to fit. There are some people out there on Tacoma World, I believe they used a drill bit because of the pressure of the pin that you're pushing in against the object that you decide to put in there to pin the transmission. It's not going anywhere. It's definitely not going to fall out. So I'll go ahead and show you all that, and then we'll get under the hood and I'll show you exactly how you're going to be checking to make sure that this thing works. So let's get under there and I'll show you all. So looking here underneath the truck on the passenger side of the transmission, obviously directly behind the oil pan and the engine, you do have the thermostat that does connect to the transmission. And again, this is the unit where it is going to regulate the temperature of the transmission. So if it does reach a certain point before overheating, the thermostat will depress, and then the lines will take it to the transmission cooler up front. So when you are looking at it here, if you do have the tow package, obviously this is the pin right here that you are going to be depressing and then putting something, and I don't know if you all can see it well, but there's a hole right there that you can actually stick something in and keep the thermostat constantly depressed. So the fluid from the point of starting the truck will constantly be circulating through the circuit up to the cooler and then back to the transmission to help keep those transmission fluid temperatures down. So we're going to take a look at this a little closer, depress the pin, and show you exactly that process. So if you do pop the hood to your truck and move to the very front here on the driver's side, if you do look, you can see kind of in between the grill slots there is your transmission cooler, which it's almost easier to see when you go above in between the space of the radiator and the grill. You can see right here is your transmission cooler. So when you do look down here in the space, the way that you can tell that your transmission is pinned is by touching some of these lines. You have your feed and your return line, and they're both going to be pretty warm because the transmission has been cycling all of the warm transmission fluid all the way through the circuit, which does run through here to the transmission cooler from the radiator on this side where it does normally go through its cooling cycle. The GoPro may not get the best lighting in here, but you do see these very clearly when you do pop the hood of your truck. If you do have a tow package, it's very easy to go through here and explore, and I'm actually going to stick the GoPro down here, see if you guys can get a better look at it. Honestly, the lighting is probably not all that great down in there, but it is there, and when your transmission is pinned, chances are after driving it, you are going to feel some very warm or even hot fluid that is running through that, but ultimately it is going to cool it a lot better when your transmission is pinned. So as you can see, that was a pretty simple process to get underneath the truck and do. It really didn't take even a minute to do. I really think that this is something that will be beneficial in the long run, because at this current point my truck has just over 50,000 miles, and again, I will be doing a 50,000 mile review on the truck here soon for you all. Gosh, I can't talk. And I'll be going over a lot of stuff in that, but the transmission fluid, and as you saw in the one video that I had done a couple months back, I had just done the exchange of what was in the pan at the time, so that wasn't a difficult thing to do. But the transmission fluid, you know, it's been going for a little while, and I was thinking, you know, even though they say that the transmission fluid might be lifetime fluid or whatever, that I thought it was a good idea to just go ahead and do that. But I want to keep my transmission fluid in as tip-top shape as I can, considering the mileage and the off-roading that I've done. And I was thinking, you know, if I can keep the transmission fluid cool and just constantly running through that circuit, it's not going to be a bad thing to do. It's not going to hurt anything. The operation of the transmission is just the same as I'm driving around right now with the with the transmission pinned. It doesn't change anything at all. It's just going to keep your transmission fluid nice and cooled, or at least cooled a little bit more over these warm summer months. And one thing that you are going to want to do, if your area does start to get cold, or you do have a particularly cold fall or winter, you're going to want to pull that pin out so your transmission fluid can properly warm up, because if it is too cold outside, your transmission fluid may never get up to temperature, and then it's not going to operate as it was designed, because like I said, the coolant from the engine does run through that module that is there on the side to help warm up the transmission fluid and get it up to peak operating temperature. so can operate at its most efficient. So that's all I have for this video. If you all do have any questions or comments, you know where to leave them, and if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do consider doing so. We do come out with videos every week, and we enjoy doing so. So thank you all again for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.